Yes. Just a reminder, if you want to speak at the council meeting, we go to our persons and delegations, you have to sign in before 7 o'clock. There will be no more people signing or coming up and wanting to talk last or later in this. We're going to just start keeping it where you have to be here by 7 o'clock and sign in. Thank you. At this time, we are going to start our meeting. I would like to call to order the Oregon City Council regular meeting for October 27th, 2025. The time is 7 p.m. We are going to have a moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Thank you. The moment of silence was for the passing of one of our former mayors, Marge Brown, who passed away a week or so ago. So that's what that was for. So thank you very much. Ms. Snyder, would you please take a roll call of council members that are present?
Mrs. Ackerman? Here. Mr. Drake? Mr. Horniak?
Here.
Mrs. Pauloff? Mr. Reeves?
Here.
Mr. Solander?
Here.
Mr. Wallensack?
Here. Please note, 5 of the council people are here. I did receive a phone call from Mrs. Pauloff and Mr. Drake. They cannot be here this evening, so I will seek a motion to excuse them from tonight's meeting.
Mr. President,
Mr. Horniak.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Salander. Any objections? Hearing none, Mr. Drake and Ms. Pauloff are excused from tonight's meeting. Also present at tonight's meeting is Mayor Safarian, our City Administrator Joel Major, our Clerk of Council Josette Snyder, our Law Director Melissa Papora, our Public Service Director Paul Roman, our Police Chief Brandon Began, our Assistant Police Chief Ryan Spangler, our Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, our Assistant Fire Chief Mark Mullen, and our Finance Director Nick Roman. Ladies and gentlemen that are standing, feel free. There are chairs over here that you can take back to the corner if you'd like to. Please feel free to, or there are a few seats that are empty if you would like to find a seat. Our next order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the October 13th, 2025 regular council meeting. Council, I seek a motion.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Horniak.
I move to accept the minutes from the October 13th regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallensack. Thank you. Does anyone have any objections? Meeting minutes are accepted as presented. We are going to move to the order of our agenda tonight. Council, we need to add items 167 of 2025 through 175 of 2025 to tonight's agenda. Can I seek a motion to add these items to the agenda?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Horniak.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallensack. We have a motion by Mr. Horniak, second by Mr. Wallensack. Council, are there any objections? Hearing none, items 167 of 2025 to 175 of 2025 have been added to tonight's agenda. The first item on the agenda for consideration is passage of item number 167. Excuse me, we're going to go to Mr. Wallensack. Sorry about that, Mr. Wallensack.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this evening I am honored
to discuss item number 167 of 2025, which is a resolution designating a portion of Star Avenue between Lollendorf and Wynn Road as Max and Ben Morrissey Memorial Mile in memory of fallen workers. Obviously, we know what happened with Max and Ben, the unfortunate industrial accident that occurred in our community. And Elgin Rogers, our state rep, reached out to me about 6 to 8 weeks ago after a discussion he had with Jim Witt from the United Steelworkers, asking if there's something we can do to memorialize these young men that unfortunately lost their lives. In discussions with them, it came up that they would like to, similar to what you have on the interstate where you can memorialize a fallen soldier on the side of the road. We thought it was a great way to honor these two gentlemen. And today, hopefully after the mayor reads the resolution and we pass this, it's the least that we can do for this family, for the tragedy that they've had to deal with. I know the mayor will have something to say. I'd ask Mr. Rogers, after the mayor says his words, to come to the podium and speak. But I am so honored to be able to bring this forward as a memorial for these two fine gentlemen. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. And resolutions are traditionally passed by council members, proclamations by mayors, but I'm honored to just, and I don't want to take ownership of this because it certainly is not my deal. It is everyone's. And I will just start by reading the descriptive title, Resolution Designating a Portion of Star Avenue between Lollendorf Road and Wynn Road as Max and Ben Morrissey Memorial Mile in memory of the fallen workers. And with that, I would turn it over to Eldon Rogers, and I'm sure you might have a word or two to say.
And Mayor, before Mr. Rogers speaks, I would like to say, when Mr. Rogers brought this forward to me, I had discussions with council members, and every council member was on board enthusiastically about this project. So this was not just one person, this was a council 100% behind doing this for this family. Thank you. Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, Councilman Walzensack. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Administrator Mazur. My name is Elgin Rogers, Jr., State Representative, District 42. A lot of times in the work that we do, we don't know the impact that it has on folks. And the work that you all do, you don't know the impact that you have on the community and people. So tonight being here is a shining moment for not only just me, but the family, the people that helped bring this together. And I would just ask Mr. Jim Witt to stand for having the tenacity and the resilience to continue with this project. Mr. Witt, will you please stand? And I just want to thank the family too for being so responsive and allowing the process to work through. And I know that sometimes in government, things move really slow. But thank you all for being expeditious with this. And I just want to share some words from the State House. And it reads, the General Assembly of the State of Ohio House Commendation on behalf of State Representative Elgin Rogers, Jr. to the family of Ben and Max Morrissey. Tonight, we gather to honor the memory of two extraordinary men, Ben and Max Morrissey, who tragically lost their lives in the fire at the BP Husky Refinery in Oregon, Ohio. As members of United Steelworkers Local 1346, the Morrissey brothers dedicated their lives to ensuring workplace safety, and in doing so, made the ultimate sacrifice. In recognition of their bravery, commitment to safety, and love for their families, we proudly announce the naming of Ben and Max Morrissey Memorial Mile in memory of fallen workers. This road, which will bear their names and will stand as a permanent reminder of their selflessness, courage, and dedication to the community. Ben and Max were more than workers. They were fathers, husbands, and heroes. Their actions on that fateful day helped prevent much worse disaster and save countless lives. While their loss leaves an irreplaceable void, their legacy will continue to inspire us all. Their families, especially their young children, will always hold their memories close, and we share in their grief and in their strength. As we gather tonight, we not only commemorate the lives of fallen workers, but also reaffirm our commitment to ensuring workplace safety and the protection of workers everywhere. The Morrissey brothers' sacrifice will always be remembered as a call to action to prevent such tragedies in the future. We extend our deepest love and gratitude and sympathy to the Morrissey family and to all workers who risk their lives to protect others. May this road stand as a lasting tribute to the Morrissey brothers' dedication and fallen workers everywhere. May it remind us all of the ongoing fight for justice, safety, and respect for all workers. And with that being said, I just want to thank you, and I think we'll bring the family up, and just want to thank you all for your support. I serve on the Transportation Committee in the State House, and a lot of folks think that these are just road naming bills, but these are not just road naming bills. These things have innumerable, immeasurable impact on the lives of others, because we cannot forget and we must always remember those folks who come before us. So thank you for this opportunity.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenczak.
Thank you, Mr. President. In doing so, we are going to put a roadside signage at the entry to Star Avenue, the park at either end of Star Avenue at Lallendorf and Wynn. A larger version of the sign is this. They've ordered the signs that will be posted on the roadway, but I reached out to Mark and Paige Smith and Frank Ozansky at Clear Images, and they so graciously made a scaled-down version for the family members. So we would love for the family members to come up and receive this sign that they can take home with them this evening. So thank you. As they take the picture, I just wanted to reach out. In conjunction with the family, the family and the community thought that this was the best location going through the park to memorialize Ben and Max. So the family was part of this throughout the process. So thank you so much. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Couple more.
On behalf of the family, I'd just like to thank you and appreciate what you've done. I really can't tell you how much I miss my boys. Thank you very much.
At this time, the Morrissey family are going to leave They can.
Be a long night without that.
Well, Mr. Reeves is over at the door. I want to thank the other council members for being on board with this. This is a special moment for this family, and just want to thank the other council members. Thank you.
Up next on tonight's agenda is Mr. Mark Fry.
Mr. Reeves, we still have to vote.
Council, are there any additional questions from item 167 of 2025? Hearing none, I will assign item 169, or 67 of 2025 as Resolution 167 of 2025, and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
A resolution designating a portion of Star Avenue between Lollendorf Road and Wynn Road as Max and Ben Morrissey Memorial Mile in memory of fallen workers.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenczak.
Mr. President, I make a motion for passage of Resolution number 167 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenczak. I'll second it. We have a motion by Mr. Wallenczak, a second by Mr. Reeves. Ms. Snyder, would you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallenczak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Thank you. Resolution 167 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas to 0 nays. Next up on, we're going to take Mr. Mark Fry, who is President of Palmer Energy and Mayor of Sylvania. Mr. Fry, if you would name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Fry. I'm the president of Palmer Energy, 5577 Airport Highway, Toledo, Ohio. Thank you very much to all of you this evening, to the mayor, to the members of council, members of administrative staff, and to the general public. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I actually did a presentation. Mayor Sperry?
Mark,
Yes.
I just wanted to recognize Kathy Pauloff, who originally contacted you to come in tonight, and she wasn't able to be here because she's on vacation out of town.
Yeah,
But
thank you very much, Mayor, and that's correct. I did a presentation in Lucas County about a month ago, and shortly after that, Councilmember Pauloff reached back out to me and said, hey, would you come into Oregon and try to go through this presentation? A lot of questions have been asked about what's going on with the price of electricity, why are things so different than what they were short number of months ago, and that was exactly the same conversation I had with the county commissioners and other communities. So we've been getting a lot of calls, and to give you a sense of context about this, Palmer Energy has been working with the city of Oregon and basically all of Lucas County and northern Wood County in regards to governmental community aggregation services for electric and natural gas supplies for participants in the aggregation programs. So we've been doing this on your behalf for about 25 years. And over the last 25 years, since third-party electricity supply was available, we've been able to save consumers who are participating in the program about $194 million compared to what they would have paid to Toledo Edison. A little over 70 of that was related to the fact that we fixed the price a little over 3 years ago for the price of electricity, which at the time was a competitive rate, but fundamentally with what was going on in the marketplace at the time, I recommended to the communities to sit down and look at a longer-term fixed price, and the communities agreed, you all agreed, and we were able to save about $70 million just in the past 3 years. The unfortunate reality is contracts end, particularly beneficial contracts, and that price at 6.3 cents per kilowatt hour ended in May of this year. So basically, May bills, you got 6.3 cents. Starting June bills, if you are participating in the aggregation, it went up to 9.7. And the reason for the jump is there's lots of different reasons, which I'll start to go into and expand on in a minute. But fundamentally, we fixed at an opportune time. The wholesale market for electricity and for what's called generation capacity both rose substantially over that same time frame. So we had a long-term fixed price, and unfortunately, we reverted back to the marketplace conditions that naturally occur at the end of the contract. Had the prices been lower, obviously the prices would have been lower for participants. So the benefit of this is substantial savings. The problem or the challenge with this is that created a shock to everybody. And to give you a sense for an average residential customer, that was a significant sum of money. It's probably $20 to $25 a month in their electric bills if they're participating in the aggregation. Now, I've had lots of people ask me this question: what happened? What's going on? Is this about data centers? Well, yes and no. It's a little more complex than that. To give you a feel of this, over 18 years, from 2005 until 2023, the amount of consumption of electricity in the United States went up 3%. So think of everything that's changed since 2005 till 2023. Smartphones and all of the Amazon centers and all of those things that were constructed and built, all of the homes that were constructed here in the city of Oregon. All of those things basically were balanced out against the conservation of electricity that you've done here in your facilities, you've done in your water rec facilities, that we've all done in our homes and businesses. They balanced each other out. And while that was going on, there was another significant change in the marketplace. And you all are ground zero for one of those significant changes. Bayshore, by and large, was shut down. It still has one small section of it that's still operational. Coal-fired generation stations were shut down over the last 15 to 20 years. And the reason for that, everybody blames the environmental requirements, but that's only part of that picture. The other fact is that this is just a matter of pure economics. The price of natural gas is low enough that it started to pressure the values that could be generated out of a coal-fired generating station. Coal-fired power plant, you put 100 BTUs of coal into the unit, you get 30 to 35 BTUs of electricity out of that unit. You put 100 BTUs of natural gas into the Oregon Clean Energy Center, and you get about 60 to 61 BTUs of electricity out of it. So just the laws of physics alone created substantial pressure on those coal-fired generating stations. The coal-fired generating stations had a much higher number of individuals who also worked there. So all of these things, along with the environmental regulations that were part of this process, created this swap out. So Bayshore shuts down, Oregon Clean Energy Center opens up, and you end up at about the same position on a national level. Because of conservation, we got away with that, for lack of a better term. The challenge that we started to encounter about 5 to 7 years ago, we started to make a decision that the cost of renewable electricity was the right way for us to go on a national level. Not here to say that it was good or bad, I'm just giving you information for you to consider and to help you make decisions. So we decided as a nation we were going to invest in renewable energy. Fine. But as it stands, renewable energy is by its very nature intermittent. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. I'm sure many of you have driven past the wind turbines over at the high school at Clay, and sometimes they're turning and sometimes they're not. That's the nature of electric generation from renewable resources. Not a problem in the big scheme of life, except for one particular thing: data centers. You have very large and, quite frankly, somewhat unexpected generation requirements or load that is coming from these new data centers that are being constructed, not just in Northwest Ohio, but all over the country. The largest chunk of data centers is actually, being built is in Texas, but the largest chunk that has been built is actually around the outskirts of Washington, D.C. And the challenge associated with this is you've got a renewable source of generating electricity that's coming on stream, which is intermittent in nature, but these data centers are not intermittent in their requirements. They want electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So what you have is a mismatch in the marketplace between an intermittent production facility that's going to come online and a large amount of electrical demand that's coming into the grid on an ongoing basis. And when I say a large amount of electricity, one large hyperscale data center, when it's fully constructed and built out, could consume as much electricity as every single electric consumer in Lucas County, refineries, Jeep plant, everybody. These are very, very large electrical consuming operations. And what that caused in the marketplace, and some of that caused the increase in the cost of your electricity you saw in your aggregation supplies, was from 2023, you'll remember a minute or two ago, I mentioned that 3% over 18 years, which is effectively flat amount of electric demand and consumption in the United States. From 2023 to 2024, the electricity demand increased 3% in 1 year alone. So 18 years, 3%, 1 year more, 3%, and 2025 is heading in that direction. So another 3% is probably going to be likely before the end of this year. So the marketplace basically gets concerned about these incremental demands. Lots of these data centers have been constructed and connected to the grid, connected to the interstate highway of the electricity market. You all see them when you drive through town, the high voltage, large transmission towers. That is the interstate highway of the electrical grid. And the entity that controls this distribution on this grid, at least in this section of the country, all over the state of Ohio and elsewhere, is an entity called PJM. And their job is to keep the lights on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They've done a great job with that, but effectively they cover everywhere from basically from the Statue of Liberty in northern New Jersey down to North Carolina, the whole way to Chicago. About 65 million people are dependent upon this organization to make sure that the transmission system is operating efficiently, effectively, and keeping the lights on for all of us to enjoy and deal with. So part of the challenge with this is a lot of concerns about data centers, and I get that, but the important thing to understand associated with this is the data centers are going to get constructed. They're going to get built unless we could round everybody's cell phones up and put them in a shredder, and we're never going to ask another question from anybody. That's just not going to happen. We're all going to utilize this technology, and we need to understand that this demand is coming. There is no doubt about it, and many of the entities that got in early, around the Virginia area, around Washington, D.C. and Maryland, they got in before the recognition of the marketplace was such that it created this situation and recognized these demands. Most of these generators basically are going to get constructed wherever there is a large pressure, high volume interstate natural gas pipeline system. Well, as it turns out, when people start looking around where there's transmission systems and where there's large high pressure pipelines with capacity to pull natural gas from them, many of those are in northwestern Ohio. Central Ohio, in the Columbus area, they basically, the utility down there, AEP, has come back and said, we're not accepting any more data center applications. They've actually had applications on the order of 19,000 megawatts. So that's 19 Oregon Clean Energy Centers, plus some, probably closer to 20 actually. So these are very, very significant electrical demands. Now, I don't believe that these are all going to get constructed. Most of them will not be constructed, but if even a quarter of them are, that's a massive incremental demand for electricity. And what the data center companies, the developers, have come to the conclusion of is that anybody who's coming in at this particular point in time, it's what I characterize to be BYOG, which is bring your own generation, because you're not going to connect to the grid unless you've got your own generation source nearby. It doesn't matter whether it's in Oregon, Ohio, whether it's in Northwest Ohio, whether it's in Waxahachie, Texas, it doesn't matter. You're going to bring your own generation because these loads are so large that they're going to have to build and construct to feed these facilities. That is the fundamental reality of this particular situation. As these data centers grow, we're going to be consuming more natural gas to feed these facilities, and all of the development you're going to see, whether it's here or somewhere else in the country, are all going to be driven by that absolute fact. So wherever there's large natural gas availability, wherever there's lots of transmission for the interstate highway system across the country, those facilities will be constructed in those locations. So I don't know whether any of you have seen any other commentary I've made, but from my perspective, the reality is in the next 3 to 5 years, an unfortunate fact is your electric bills are probably going to go up some. How much? Uncertain at this point. So if you put a data center here, your electric bills are probably going to go up some in the next 3 to 5 years. If you don't put a data center here, your electric bills are probably going to go up in the next 3 to 5 years. Because the bump that you just saw, the increase that we just saw, was driven by data centers not in Columbus, not in Toledo area, but in basically outside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. That's how far the impact of these things can make. So Council President Reeves mentioned that I'm the mayor of city. If I could figure out a way to get one of these in Sylvania, even though I only got 6.5 square miles, I'd be on it like a tent. So but I can't speak for what's right for the city of Oregon. That's up for you all to determine. The other thing to understand what's associated with this is you're not going to see these prices last forever. Eventually, this market will balance itself out. But the reality is, for the next few years, you're going to continue to see some pretty substantial increases in your electric costs. Now, I do believe we're going to see in the next aggregation contract a reduction relative to where we're at today. So we'll see some relief, but the fact is that these pressures are going to continue whether we like them or not, whether you're buying from the utility, whether you're buying through the aggregation supplier, whether you're buying out on your own, it doesn't really matter from the perspective of these prices are going to be under pressure and there's lots of volatility in the market. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, I ran some quick math because I know the mayor has been on record at talking about the one that's being considered to be constructed here in Oregon. That's up for you to decide what to do, but I can give you a sense of proportionality, if you will, because sometimes it's hard to wrap your mind around some of these numbers. A data center, as I understand it, is going to take a period of years to be constructed. You're going to build these things in phases. You're going to have between 1,500 and 2,000 construction jobs that are going to be created, and they're going to pay payroll taxes, and those people are going to be living in your community, and they're probably, in some cases, going to be living in my community because these are bricklayers, these are concrete workers, these are electricians and plumbers and HVAC technicians. These people are going to be working in these facilities, and one of the concerns that I've heard is that, the chips are going to get outdated just like your phone, you're going to get rid of it in 2 years. But in reality, that's not in my understanding, that's not what's getting taxed here. What's getting taxed is the building, the actual facility, and these are very valuable facilities that create the potential for property tax revenue. Now, Mayor Safarian had mentioned somewhere on the order of $20 million. I don't know whether it's $20 million, whether it's $5 million, or whether it's $30 million, but I can generally give you a sense of what that means. I ran the math. There's about 52 after the announcement by the Stellantis company about the Jeep plant. They're adding another 900 jobs, and inside that bucket, there's about 50. Thank you very much. There's about 5,200 workers that are going to be working at the Jeep plant, and if they were all making $30 an hour, not with benefits, but just payroll, $30 an hour, full time, 2,080 hours a year. The payroll tax off of that for the city of Toledo, plus the property tax, according to the county website, is about $10 million a year. Now, I'm not going to equate the $20 million that is potentially up for grabs here in the city of Oregon on this particular facility to a job and a person who's working at the Jeep plant. It's not the same. There's a bigger ripple effect associated with somebody who's working and assembling vehicles. But it's $20 million a year versus $10 million a year. This is the Jeep plant. And from an economic development perspective, that's a very, very large and significant project. So in the end, as I said a bit ago, to me, this is a situation where we're going to be impacted by these prices. Putting one here, putting one down the road, putting one in Chicago, putting one in Boston, wherever it goes, these are going to change the market conditions and they're going to push the price of electricity. So putting one here isn't going to materially change the outcome of what you're going to see on your electric prices. So with that being said, I am happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
At this time, Mr. Fry has agreed to answer questions for 20 to 25 minutes. I know it's not an awful lot, but if you want to come up and ask after I go through council to see if they have questions or administration, please feel free to come up, but you're going to be timed at about a minute so we can keep the ball rolling. So council, any questions for Mr. Fry? Mr. Wallenczak.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. The only question I have is, if new generation is created not only by their facility, but in additional gas-fired power plants, how does that impact the whole network? Obviously, power plants are going to have to be built in conjunction with these throughout the United States also. Does that have any relief on pricing in the short term?
Short term being what duration?
3 to 5 years, is it?
Probably not. The lag time in getting one of these facilities constructed is towards the end of that time frame. The relief is after that, to the extent that that occurs. And the reason that I say to the extent that that occurs, council member, is because I don't know what is going to be happening with artificial intelligence 5 years from now. When people started talking about the internet 25 years ago, and that was a big deal, and the amount of electricity we consumed popped. At the time, there was a turnover there, and the creation of that infrastructure was such that there was some excess for a while, which drove prices down. In this case, this would be generation-related potential extra that would push prices down. What I don't know is how much we're going to use, how much that's going to change. I can't comprehend what's going to occur with these AI data centers and how we're all going to be utilizing those assets even 5 years down the road. It's moving so fast. Sure.
Thank you. Mrs. Ackerman.
Mr. Fry, thank you for coming this evening.
Ms. Ackerman.
Oh, too
Closer.
close.
No,
Oh,
move
sorry.
it closer, please.
Usually I'm too loud. I understand, as infrastructure has to be improved upon, and we know we've gone a long time without, it's like roads or anything else. We are going to pay through our bill. We're going to see that. I know there's legislation, there's a lot of discussion about making these companies that are making the billions of dollars to have them front more of the bill of increasing that infrastructure to bring, because they are the biggest users. So what can you tell us about that as far as, what's two-part question? Do you see anything changing in these huge mega companies helping to pay for the infrastructure that they're requiring instead of it being passed on to consumers? And can we assure citizens that they will not be, because it is a fear, and I'm sure you've heard it, that the energy will be prioritized to those companies versus those of us that are going to pay for it in our electric bill?
Right. As for the companies paying for infrastructure, that's already started to occur. The most material example that I can give you is, and this is reported in the public press, Microsoft went to the company that owns 3 Mile Island over in Pennsylvania. And basically, there's two units there. The one that had the partial meltdown, the other unit ran for many years afterwards and was shut down 5 years or so ago. And in that particular case, the company who owned that facility, a company by the name of Constellation, they negotiated a contract with Microsoft to restart that facility. Microsoft wrote them a check for $1.5 billion and said, go. They're going to take the entire output of that facility, the entire nuclear generation, which is about the same size as Davis-Besse. So there is a recognition by these companies that they have to be part of this solution from an infrastructure dollar perspective, whether it's generation of electricity, whether it's any water demand, whether it's fiber, whatever infrastructure requirements are necessary to build one of these things. They recognize, I can't speak for them personally, but data that I've seen tends to point to their recognition that this is going to have to be part of the cost of doing business. The second question you had was what, council member? I'm sorry, I forgot.
No problem. The biggest fear with a lot of people is that the power, say we all see that increase in our electric bills over the years, and there's a lot of talk of cities where the power is prioritized to those because we know that the data centers can never be, starved of any power. That has to be consistent. So how do we as citizens, can you ease our mind that the power will never be prioritized to them over our homes and our businesses and what we need it for, considering, especially since we help pay for the build out of it?
Sure. That's a long answer. So I'll try to shorten it as much as possible. Part of this is a regulatory question, and I'll give you a little bit of history. I don't think you're old enough to remember this, but in the late 1970s, there was a shortage of natural gas. And a shortage, what was determined to be a shortage at that point in time. And back then, if there's anybody here in the audience, they shut the schools down during the middle of the winter for a few weeks or days or what have you. And all of that occurred, and what the regulatory agencies, in this case, the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, said is, you must supply your natural gas that you have available to homes and small businesses. And the industrial customers have to get whatever's left over. So part of this conversation is a regulatory-driven conversation. As for what they ultimately choose to do, history says they're going to recognize the same sort of thought process, that homes and businesses have to be fed first. These facilities have to take their chances, which is one of the reasons they're coming back saying, I'm going to build my own power plant right next to me, because then I can become an island on my own if I need to. As for all the other questions associated with whether the utility company would make that level of decision, practicality speaking, electrons flow by the path of least resistance. So if you have a power plant right next to a big load, that's naturally going to absorb most of that electricity unless there's a regulatory order that says, no, the electricity continues to be generated, but this load needs to reduce, it needs to go back, so that rather than 3 milliseconds for your response on what's the best restaurant in Oregon, Ohio, which, by the way, I think is the Oregon Inn, since I was there this evening. So I apologize for the easy one. But fundamentally, that's a thought process that, okay, it's not going to take 2 milliseconds, it's now going to take 5 seconds to get the answer. And that basically becomes the mechanism by which they reduce those demands. Does that help answer your question, ma'am? Okay.
Mr. Salinger.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Fry, for being here with us and sharing your knowledge with us. It's very much appreciated.
Appreciate it.
So what I'm hearing from you is that pretty much whether we have it or whether we don't, we're going to be hit with higher bills.
Pretty much.
Higher electric bills, okay?
Yep. I wish I had better news for you, sir.
All right. Can you, what else can you tell us about some of the electricity usage or possibilities of what we're looking at for this particular project that we're talking about here in Oregon?
I don't know enough detail to give you much feedback in regards to the specifics of the situation in Oregon. All I know is generalities of stuff that I've read in the public. So I'm not part of that process. I don't have a dog in that fight, so to speak. So I can't give you a lot of information, just what's out there in the public record. What I can give you a sense of is that, because I know one of the fears is that, okay, this is going to be like an abandoned Kmart or some other situation because they're going to build these buildings and 10 years later, they're going to abandon ship. I don't think that's likely for a couple of reasons. First, they're going to build these things in phases. So they're not, this is going to be a thing, they're going to construct a couple of these buildings, make sure they've got the demand. They're going to build a couple more of these buildings because these buildings are expensive. I mean, the buildings and the materials, the chips that go inside, this is hundreds of millions or potentially even billions of dollars. No matter how big a company you are, that's real money, no matter where you're at, even with the federal government. So what I would generally say is they're not going to build more than they think they have demand for. So from that perspective, that's part of that puzzle. But the interesting thing is, let's say that you're going to build a generation station right next door. Oregon Clean Energy Center, number 2, because I know that's something that's actually gotten approval. So they're going to build this power plant, and I don't even know where this facility is going to be at in Oregon. Maybe it is connected or maybe it isn't. But they're going to build this power plant nearby, whatever that name is. They're going to build the entire power plant. So they're not going to build 200 megawatts of generation because they have 200 megawatts of load that's going to expand to 600 or 700 megawatts of load. They're going to build the whole generation facility now. And if they don't effectively build out that infrastructure to consume that electricity, the power plant's not going anywhere. It's a separate investment from a separate investment group, presumably. They're going to write that check separately, and these big companies are going to be on the hook for that economically, but then they're going to have the extra power output to sell against that in order to balance those numbers out. So there's going to be, that's why I mentioned to the council member earlier, it's really hard to sense what the ramp up of demand for this information is going to be relative to how fast we can build these generation facilities and the infrastructure that's attached to it. So maybe too much information because
No, you're fine. No,
I get a
it's
little I get a little close to the forest and the bark on the tree.
right,
So
yeah.
that's my nature. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
Mr. Sandler. Mr. Horniak, anything?
No, I just want to appreciate you being here. Obviously, there's a lot of questions. Having experts who really
Understood.
understand this is good. I think the thing I would just like to reiterate, and I know I've had this conversation with a lot of folks, whether this is located in Oregon, Ohio, whether it's located in Lucas County, whether it's located in Ohio, whether it's located in about an 8-state area, our rates are going up. The demand on electricity is going to cause that to happen no matter where these data centers go. And the other point, just to reiterate through, and I had this conversation with someone who was very against the project and the idea of this being in Oregon. They said, how do you stop this? Throw them in the garbage. As long as you want 3,000 pictures of your cat, dog, family, whatever, available to you in a nanosecond, as long as you want to say, what's the best restaurant here? If you want to say, where's the closest laundromat? Every time you hit that button, you ask that question, that's AI. That is what we demand of what now is the computer we carry in our pocket. So the way you do this is by curbing cell phone demand. In my opinion, I don't believe that's ever going to happen because they have become not only part of our lives, for most of us, part of our right hand. So this is going to keep going. It's going to continue to be a need. The evolving technology is always a question whenever you're dealing with technology. 5 to 8 year lifespan is long for a technology lifespan. So the question of what's this going to be in 8 years or 10 years or 15 years, I don't know that we can say that today. I don't think we know that because 5 years ago, we didn't necessarily know a whole lot about why we needed data centers. So, I would just like to reiterate, no matter where it goes, it's going to impact our electric rates because of the facts you talked about. stopping the idea of these data centers is unlikely because we are all ultra consumers of data. And as long as we're ultra consumers of data, and when you think about a lot of the conversation in our community that's taken place over this proposed data center has taken place over Facebook. That's Meta, folks, if you don't know, and Meta is one of the largest data center builders in North America. So I guess just to reiterate the points, and I thank you very much for your expertise and your willingness to be here tonight. So thank you, Mr. Fry, very much.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Major.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Fry, good to see you again.
You too.
I have one question about outages, but I'll get to that in a second. My other question is about natural gas. I know we talk a lot about electricity, and it's been 3 years. I've been here 3 years now. In my prior position, I was on the AMP Board of Trustees. So I'm 3 years out of the game of tracking, closely tracking energy markets. In the natural gas world right now, are you expecting to see any kind of ramp up in rates for natural gas as well with the increased usage of bring your own energy to the data center sites, or is that a big unknown right now?
It's both. So it is an unknown, but here's what I can tell you in regards to natural gas. As you construct these facilities, there's lots of incremental natural gas demand that comes from it. We're producing more natural gas in this country than we ever have before. 20 years ago, we produced about 50 to 52 billion cubic feet of natural gas a day. We're at about 107 right now. We're exporting about 16 to 18 billion cubic feet of that overseas through liquefied natural gas, which is basically a thermos bottle, or via pipeline to Mexico and or Canada. So those exports are going to ramp up. You've heard press reports about that. That's just another reality. There's lots of facilities that are going to be constructed. So there's new incremental gas demand that's going to be created by these data centers, by electric vehicles to some extent, longer term, by the export capacity requirements associated with these contracts with these overseas companies to export liquefied natural gas from the United States. The number there's plenty of natural gas there. The question is, what's the number of dollars per million BTU does it take in order to incentivize producers to go out and drill more wells to make sure that the supply is available? That number, according to the current projections, was around $5. As of today, the number is about $4. That's part of the reason why I indicated earlier that there's probably going to be increased prices for electricity because electricity, 45% of all electricity in the United States is generated by natural gas. Because of that, they are the unit of last resort. And as those prices rise, the wholesale price of electricity naturally rises with it. With that being said, if I got shorts on the 17th of January here in Northwest Ohio, then we don't have a problem with natural gas for another couple of years because we're not consuming it as much as we expected to heat our homes. So it's still a very significant impact on weather. That's where it gets more complicated to get an assessment of where those prices can be. Because unlike electricity, we can store natural gas and do it all the time, as you well know.
Yeah.
You had a question about outages too? Mr.
Yeah,
Mazur?
just, this is a question that I get from people and that I've seen on some of this Facebook traffic. But can you talk about just data centers specifically, and if you, I haven't read about any, but if there are any outages that they cause, or are they well-insulated facilities that don't cause outages or blinks, so to speak, out in the system?
The infrastructure that was built early on, the nature of a data center load, with us asking these questions, there can be significant swings in the demand of electricity, and it's not by the minute, it's by the millisecond. So it's just on and off based upon whatever the demand is on the system. That creates a challenge for the electrical, even the interstate highway known as the transmission grid. But with these newer data centers that are under consideration now, there's a lot of belt and suspender kind of infrastructure that would be constructed. So it's not just dropping in a natural gas-fired combined cycle combustion turbine like OCE 1. It's, okay, we're going to have capacitors, then we're going to have batteries, then we're going to have engines, and then we're going to have electric generation from the natural gas turbines. So that creates I'm getting into electrical engineering, but that gets into inertia associated with the consumption and the shift in demand, which creates a much, much lower likelihood, and in fact, probably increases the reliability of the grid here locally. That's one of the things that these facilities will probably do once they're ultimately connected to the grid, which they will be. Sure.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to set the clock for 25 minutes. Yeah,
Council President, I may need another glass of water.
well,
Warn
that's
you up
fine.
front.
We got a lot of water.
But if you would like to ask a question to Mr. Fry, please raise your hand and I will call on you to speak with him. That's
Wherever you're
fine.
comfortable.
Nope, if you want to sit in Ms. Pauloff's seat, you're more than welcome to and answer.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. My name's Aaron. Having been a Jeep employee for a long time, there's about 6,000 people that work at the Jeep plant. Plus, it's supported by KUKA and Mobis, which is about another 2,000 people roughly. So taxes-wise, if they put the other 900 employees with the new line coming in, that's about $16.15 million just in taxable income tax, about 2.5%. When you do all the math between KUKA, Mobis, and Jeep, that leaves over $500 million after all taxes are taken out that could be spent within the communities. About half of those people go to Detroit, so about $254.5 million left to be spent locally, Sylvania, Perrysburg, Toledo, Oregon. Would it be more conductive as a community to have a plant similar to that in size, about half, the data center, about half of that, which would still bring in over $8 million in property taxes, but also bring in potentially about $125 million that could be spent locally? Would that be a more cost-effective way to use our money for that money that we spent to buy that property? Also employ people in our community that are going to spend their money here, maybe start a new business here as well.
Aaron,
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the information. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah.
What I would generally tell you is, if you can get another Jeep plant and put it in Oregon, Ohio, absolutely, I would put another Jeep plant here, no question about it. But from what I can tell, first, do I need a microphone for this?
No.
No, you should be fine.
So if.
I think they said they can't hear him for online as well. I'm sorry.
Mark.
Oh, thanks. So if we could get another Jeep plant, oh yeah, absolutely. But I know that economic development professionals have been trying to figure out a way to get another facility like that here for 30 years. And I don't know if you recall this, but when Mayor Finkbeiner basically was able to get whoever it was, Chrysler or whatever at the time, to commit to build the new Jeep plant, everybody yelled at him because they thought he was giving the store away with economic development money, which has turned out to be a boon for Toledo and all of Northwest Ohio, obviously. So if we can get another one of those plants, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%, we definitely should. I don't know that that's going to happen in the near term. I don't know of any automotive facilities that are under construction, but that are being looked at here in Northwest Ohio, but I'm not part of that
Right.
process. But yes, I wholeheartedly agree. We could go get another Jeep plant, another 6,000 jobs from Jeep, plus all the ancillary jobs that are attached to Mobius and whatever. Hallelujah, yeah, let's do it. They're just not coming. So the question isn't whether this is an alternative. That's not an alternative to the best of my knowledge. If it was, I'd say, my impression is we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think we should do it.
Which
Thank
brings-
you, thank
Can I
you.
get one last?
No, well, we're asking, we
right,
got
thank-
1 minute, thank
All right,
you.
thanks, Mayor.
Who's next that would like to speak? Fran? No, Fran, you need to come up and speak at the microphone.
I would just like to ask, how often are our gas or electric prices going to go up? And how much each time?
Don't know how often. The current contract, we did not go out, we went out 12 months only because the price was so much higher. And the offers that we got to go out further than that were even further, were higher yet. So we decided that we recommended to the communities to fix only for 12 months. I do expect, given where current prices are, that there's going to be a little bit of relief on the generation side, but I don't control the distribution of the local wires and stuff. That's regulated by the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. So short term, there may be some slight relief based on market conditions. But long term, I'm probably looking at recommending a 2 or 3 year price if we can get good prices going out. But generally speaking, I don't know if we're going to be able to get competitive prices to go out that far in the future. So I wish I could tell you, and how much. I think short term, we might be able to get a little bit of relief because of market conditions, as I say. Long term, 15 or 20% on the generation, which represents about half of your bill. It's significant.
Yeah, our electric bill went from $250 to $450. We're not gonna be able to afford to live in Oregon. No one's gonna wanna move to Oregon because that's a lot of money. The prices of homes, they're fantastic houses. I am not downing Oregon at all. Fantastic houses. But when you add in this kind of utility, we're all in trouble because we're all gonna take a loss on our house. What's gonna make people want to move here?
Well, ma'am, if you had your house in Sylvania, you'd pay the exact same cost. It's not a matter of being in Oregon or Sylvania or Toledo. If you had your house.
No, but Sylvania
it's
don't have a data center.
Thank you.
Wouldn't matter. I'm paying the same numbers you're paying, ma'am.
Connie, correct? It is Connie, correct? Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
I'd like you to describe.
Connie, if you want to pull the mic down, thank you.
Do I need to give my full name and everything, or?
No, you don't, not at
Okay.
this time.
Not now, okay. I'd like you to describe bulk power purchasing agreements pertaining to data centers.
Wow, you're not gonna have enough time for that. So, if you're gonna buy third-party power for a data center and you don't have your own generation asset, you have what's called a power purchase agreement that you go through. A lot of these developers, they have created their own power purchasing groups inside, so they hire their own individual professionals internally in their company to buy wholesale electricity from the grid. And they buy it 24/7, 365 days under these power purchase agreements. Typically, what they're gonna look at is a block and index structure, which basically tries to lock in large chunks of what they know their demand's gonna be and let the rest of it float at the wholesale market prices. And that's a risk tolerance conversation that individual entity has got to determine internally within their own operational expenses. But that's very specific based upon what the actual ability of this facility is to be able to offset demands in the future. I'd be happy to talk with you further about that, but that's a really, really complex question.
I mean, my concern is that in the research I've done, the cost is shifted then on to local residents and businesses in those situations. So that was my concern.
I appreciate that. I don't think that's, I mean, to the extent that it would shift onto businesses and residents on a global scale across 65 million households, yes, those incremental demands do affect the marketplace. There's no question about that. I mentioned that earlier. But if they're bringing their own generation at the same time as they're building their own demand, that shift is that's a much more complex conversation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please. Just if you would give your first name so Mr. Fry knows it.
Kind of on their question, I have a friend that's in California, and they have much more demand on electricity than we do. You talked about hyperscale, that would be the same amount of electricity as the entire county of Lucas County, so that's pretty much doubling the area's electricity. In California, the way that they handle that capacity load is to prevent rolling blackouts. They have the smart meters on their houses that they control how much power you're getting in order to lower how much like air conditioning you're having in your house or how much power you're using. How do we know that that wouldn't be something that was subsidized or that was put into place here?
Actually, the Toledo Edison, which is our local utility, as you all know, they're in the process of installing smart meters. You may have a smart meter at your house right now. I don't know, but they're in the process of installing exactly what you're talking about with smart meters as we speak. And by the way, I'm not advocating smart meters, but what I can tell you is they're spending about $700 million to do it. So they're not free. People, and I don't know what the return on our investment is. Toledo Edison has indicated, and the PUC has agreed that that return is sufficient in order to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, Amy.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just first name, please, so he has
Right.
when he's speaking.
Hi, I'm Christine. I want to know if you're aware of any other cities turning these data centers down.
Turning them down in what regard, ma'am?
They just don't want them in their city. They don't want them. You know, I'm reading on, on Facebook, different cities coming in, because I'm friends with a lot of different cities on here, and they're saying how their city is turning them down. I want to know if you know of any of the cities that are turning them down.
I don't know of any off the top of my head. I would not be shocked that there would be some that might decide to turn them down. And you all, members of council and the administrative staff, can make that determination what's right or what isn't right for the city of Oregon.
Thank you. Anyone else? PJ, please.
Can we just clarify real quick where we get our power from, how many states are involved? It's a regional thing, not a local thing, right? Is it regional? Is there 12 states that we're attached to in Ohio right now?
13.
So it's 13 states. So anything in them 13 states is going to directly affect Oregon, Ohio the same way as if it's in Oregon, Ohio, or it's in them 13 states. Am I correct in that?
Correct. The reason we saw the bump was because of the data centers that were constructed outside of Washington, D.C.
Which is part of our region.
Which is part of that region.
So it's a regional thing more than a local. One here or one in Washington's the same thing, right?
That's correct.
Thank
I mean,
you.
from a wholesale pricing of electricity perspective, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
I apologize for not answering it,
That's okay.
apparently. So I'll try again.
So I'm still Amy. So my question would also be, you talked again about the hyper scale centers. In some production of electricity, there's also water use with that. How much water use are you talking about in order to produce electricity for something on a hyperscale that would be for Lucas County, amount of Lucas County power?
That's more of a Paul Roman question. It is a Mark Frey question. But what I can generally tell you is the technology that the data center companies are using now is what's called a closed loop system. So they're basically pulling the BTUs off of the chips. They're pulling the water that's been heated up by those chips, and they're basically taking that through and getting rid of those BTUs through a standardized process, and then returning the water. So the amount of water consumed for the data centers that are going to be built over the next few years is drastically, I don't know what the percentage is, but drastically lower than what it would have been something that was built
It's lower,
3 to
but
5
it's
years
not.
ago.
It's lower, but it's not never used again. They have to dump it, they have to purge it, they have to do all those kind of things. It's not like you fill it and it's done, right?
There's clearly maintenance that is required. There's all sorts of things like that that naturally occur, absolutely, 100%. What the actual consumption is on that and how that would interact, in your case with the city of Oregon and its availability of water capacity, I don't have the first clue.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor Fryer, for being here and for your remarks. And I just want to share this. I serve on the Energy Committee in the State House of Representatives. And the question that you all are asking, the question that we ask on committee, and you don't have to be in Columbus to ask these questions. You can actually go to the Ohio channel. And some of the bills that we're talking about, some of the things we're talking about today are being discussed by the experts like Mr. Fry. So one question that came up was about smart meters or smart thermostats. Right now, there's a House bill called 427 that's in front of our committee. And it talks about you voluntarily sign up for a program to help lower your energy costs and efficiency. That's going on right now, but if you go to the ohiochannel.org, you can see this every day at your own leisure. Some of these questions, you can pull up the old archives of some of these House bills to answer some of your questions, but these are great questions, and I wish I had you all in Columbus with me to make my job easier. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Fry, I do have, Toledo Edison has hired a company to go around and take off those meters. Is that the smart meter that they're putting back in?
Yes.
I think they went through to, like, a lot of the neighborhoods and have done that. Yes.
Yeah, they're in the process of changing every meter out in the First Energy Ohio footprint, which is about 2.1, 2.2 million meters. I think they were, when they started a couple years ago, they were about 700,000, and I don't know where they're at in that
Yeah.
process right now, council member.
Well, Mr. Fry, we thank you very much for being here and ask. Yes. This will be the last question. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Baddick. Good to meet you. Question nobody's brought up yet. With all the revenue we're supposed to get off of this, since we're paying the higher water rates and the higher electric rates, are we going to get a tax break from the city on this? Are you going to eliminate the city tax?
That's a them question, not
That-
a question.
That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm looking at city council here.
Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to throw
So,
you under the bus.
we're paying for this. Are we going to get
Mr.
a
President?
tax break on our property taxes or on
Mr.
city
Wallen's
tax?
Mr. President, I thank you for asking that. I've been kicking around and trying to think of ways that we can offset some of our electrical rates. And I've been speaking with Mr. Roman. I would like to propose, if it's legal, if we offset some of our electrical increases by subsidizing water and sewer rates with some of the monies that we collect if a project would come in. I don't know the legalities about that, but that's something that we should consider, yes.
I was thinking property tax because some people have wells and they're not paying for the water.
We don't control property taxes from a city. We're with the income tax side
The
and
state
water,
increased all of
sewer.
our property taxes by 33%, so thank you, state, for that.
Lucas County.
That came from the state of Ohio, I was told by our county auditor, because I fought it 3 times.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
So that's what I would propose, that we
Okay.
consider looking at ways that we can offset some of those costs.
Okay.
Sean, before you leave, I have a little response to that, too.
Mm-hmm.
As the schools have told us, they are looking towards a fairly large levy to be proposed.
Of course
So,
they are.
a big levy. And if the state eliminates some of the tax, it's going to be a huge levy. So what we can say is it actually maybe wouldn't reduce the property tax, keep it from increasing to an astronomical rate. That was our objective. In this particular deal, as Aaron, I believe, brought up, could we have a manufacturing plant here? To get this type of
We've been
revenue,
trying.
we would, if we would need
Oh,
a manufacturing plant that had 6,000 to 8,000 employees to get this type of revenue, to
Right,
generate the money
right.
for the schools
understand
and
that.
well, let me finish. The schools and the city. And we have a lot of people complain about the impact that a data center will have in the area. And a manufacturing plant would have 10 times the
Oh, I know.
impact that the data center would have, because there's not many industrial users that has less impact than a data center. So what we're trying to do is, we were looking at funding a full-time fire department by raising the payroll income tax we were going to raise it 0.25%. And that wasn't seen to be the ideal situation. It was to go after additional revenue,
Didn't
which
we
was
just
in.
Build a
in-
$7
with-
million fire station over on Wynn Road?
All right,
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, didn't we just do that?
yeah, and it was a
And-
great, smart idea. Maybe not in your opinion, but you
We're
got
paying
to, we
for
looked
it.
at, we had consultants go through that, which became a real good plan for our first station, and we need to build another one. All right? So if we have revenue, a revenue stream to pay for it versus raising a tax, that was the idea of going after industrial ventures that gave us the revenue stream, so we wouldn't have to raise the tax.
I understand that.
So that is,
For the schools.
Thank you. We are done. We are done for tonight. Thank you.
We all-
Mr. Fry, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. And at this time, you're more than welcome to take off. We'll take about a 3 to 5 minute break. If anybody would like to leave at this time or stick around, please feel free. Thank you. Okay, if everyone could find their seats right now, we're going to get started back up. Okay, we're going to restart our meeting. Up next is our people of, our persons of delegations, but Mr. Horniak, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say, and hopefully everybody can hear me, I'm close enough to the mic for everybody. I just wanted to say, based on, what Mr. Walczak recommended, or the idea of finding a way to offset some of the value for what's incoming, the point is well made. And I've had that question in dialogue, and Mr. Walczak presents a very good solution and idea with the idea of how do we utilize some of that incoming funding to offset, I'll say, the tax burden or burden of our community, because it's certainly an opportunity for us to do that. Building, rainy day funds, we want to add services. We have the fire that we need to fund. We certainly have police services, other things in our community we want to expand on and develop. But also part of that gets to what's in it for the taxpayers. And I think it's a great opportunity. I would say I would support that 100%. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. With that, we will start with Mark Klatt. I know he's probably out using the restroom. I'll call him up when he was a gentleman with the cane here.
All right.
So we'll move on to Laura Davis. Ms. Davis, name and address for the record, please.
Laura Davis, 5494 Bay Shore Road.
Thank you.
Okay, my husband couldn't be here today, but he sent a speech for me to read. So, Jim Davis could not be here, but he wrote a speech for me to present. He is an engineer and has had 45 years of experience working on engineering projects. The full version is posted on Facebook for anyone to read. A spokesperson for Palmer Energy spoke tonight, I assume for the purpose of educating all of us about power and why the planned data center will somehow benefit, or at least not be a concern to the residents of Oregon. There's a reason that the developers chose Oregon as a potential site for a data center. Easy access to transmission lines for water, natural gas, and electricity. But I would like to point out that their proposal includes an on-site generation plant that would provide 768 megawatts of power for the data center. It takes an average of 5 to 7 years to get the necessary approvals to build a power plant to tie into the electric grid. In their presentation, the developer acknowledged that Toledo Edison could only initially supply a portion of the power requirements and called this power plant bridging power. 768 megawatts is not a small amount of power. This is enough power to supply the city of Washington, D.C. This would be in addition to existing Ohio Clean Energy and planned OCE 2 power plant, along with the Walleye Power. This would place a total of 4 major power plants within a 5-mile radius of 3 schools. Now they will tell you that the natural gas power plants are much cleaner than the old coal-fired plants, which is relatively true, but they are also major producers of nitrous oxides and carbon dioxide, which are both powerful greenhouse gases and contribute to smog and respiratory diseases. Depending on the design, these power plants are also major consumers of water, since they often require cooling towers to condense the steam after the turbines. particulate emissions from required cooling towers have also been linked to respiratory diseases. Rejected heat from the data center, regardless of how accomplished, may also create a microclimate that will affect summer temperatures and local wildlife. There has been a lot of buzz about planned data centers in Bowling Green, Gibsonburg, Maumee, and now Fulton County. This will put a lot of strain on already overloaded grid. Upgrading the grid to meet these huge demands will be expensive. Currently, data centers take advantage of a loophole in the laws which allow them to spread the costs for these improvements across all consumers. The Columbus area has experienced a 247% increase in their electricity rates, in part because of the heavy concentration of data centers in the area. Now they will tell you that because the power is managed regionally, your electric rates will go up anyway. Perhaps that is true, but it's no consolation to seniors on a fixed income who may have to choose between food, medications, etc., to keep the lights on. All of these projects are being pushed by Regional Growth Partnership, an unelected and unaccountable economic development group that often operate under the radar due to non-disclosure agreements that keep these projects under wraps and in cahoots with wealthy investors. Their strategy is clear: wave money around to cash-strapped cities and school districts in hopes that they can sneak them through before the residents have the time and resources to fight them. We, the citizens of Oregon, say no. We do not want this data center here. We will not sacrifice our beautiful resources, quality of life, and security in the name of economic development for the short-term financial needs or wants of the city. And it is high time that Oregon exercise financial responsibility and stop selling our future to the highest bidder in the name of industrial development.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr.
I just want to respond to one thing there, is that we've been accused of holding things under wrap because of non-disclosure agreements. I know of none that were ever signed. So I know Mr. Mazur doesn't. So we've never had a non-disclosure agreement. So everything that's out, we disclosed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Connie Trudell, name and address for the record, please. 5046 Could name and address for the record, please.
Connie Trudell, 5046 Dove Road
Thank
in
you.
Oregon. Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I shared a link with a comprehensive University of Michigan study on data centers with every member of City Council, as well as Mr. Mazur, Mr. Paul Roman, and Mr. Safarian. So the title of the report is What Happens When Data Centers Come to Town. The authors are Terry, I'll spell the last name, Nguyen, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy, and Ben Green, Assistant Professor, School of Information, and Gerald R. Ford, School of Public Policy, partner with the Michigan Environmental Justice Coalition. So what I'm going to do is read verbatim the section that they have discussing utility costs. I want to make it clear these are not my own words. I'm reading this report and quoting the information. Okay? Let me just scroll down. It's on pages 8 and 9. And any of you who want to read the whole report can access it online. Okay. So the title of this section is Higher Energy Rates for Consumers. And it says, when data centers, this is a quote, when data centers are built, they raise utility rates for nearby communities. As demand surges, utility companies often pass the cost of infrastructure upgrades and increased energy procurement onto residents and small businesses through higher rates. Many communities, especially in rural or suburban areas, do not realize the connection until their monthly bills spike. Companies and legislatures also withhold information about the electricity and water use of data centers, preventing consumers from realizing that increased utility costs are often associated with the arrival of energy-intensive facilities. By keeping usage data confidential or vaguely reported, corporations and policymakers avoid public scrutiny, even as these facilities strain local resources. Without clear disclosures, residents remain unaware of how much water is diverted for cooling systems or how much electricity is consumed. information that could help communities, just a minute, push for fairer cost distribution or sustainable practices. This lack of accountability allows data center operators to expand rapidly while shifting the financial and environmental burdens onto utility customers. As a result, many residents must pay higher bills without understanding the cause, leaving them unable to advocate for better regulation or compensation. The financial strain caused by data centers most severely impacts lower-income households whose utility bills represent a disproportionate share of their income, exacerbating economic inequality in the region. While communities face higher bills, data centers frequently negotiate lower prices through bulk power purchasing agreements with investor-owned utility companies. These agreements allow data centers to operate at reduced costs despite their massive energy consumption, further shifting the financial burden onto local households and businesses. In August 2024, Meta signed 2 long-term PPAs with German power producer RWE for a combined 374 megawatt production in Illinois and Louisiana. Despite solar PPA prices holding steady, energy prices for residential consumers have increased by 20.7% in Clark County, Illinois, and 39% in Lafitte, Louisiana. Data centers and utility companies frequently collaborate to lobby state legislatures for rate increases, exacerbating the disparity. In Michigan, DTE
1 minute.
and Switch have spent over $2 million lobbying the state House, Senate, and Public Service Commission to raise electric rates. Residential electricity rates have increased by 25% since the construction of the Switch data center in 2017 and are now 17% higher than the national average. This figure has yet to include the additional $217.4 million rate hike approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission this year. This dynamic leaves communities bearing the brunt of higher utility prices without reaping the economic benefits promised by data center development. And I have a question. I'd like to know if any of you here have ever toured a data center in person.
Yeah, they're kind of tough to get in. In our last meeting, we suggested if we could make an arrangement so we could actually get in and get through one, but their security they're a little skittish on who they let in.
Because I wanted to know why that was not a prerequisite before all of this took place.
Thank you. Mark Klatt, please. Mr. Klatt, name and address for the record, please.
Mark Platt.
Can you step up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Okay, my name is Mark Platt. I live at 3025 Navarre Avenue, apartment 2H.
Thank you.
Kingston Court. Well, what my problem is not about all the data centers and everything like that. This is a safety issue for me. Kingston Court, you can only go in, you can go in and you can go out, but there's no other exits. My problem is it's a safety problem for me. Across the street from Kingston Court, their driveway, they have another set of, there's no lights right at that point, but what happens is people take a shortcut by coming out these other 2 places. And you can go through the records, there's plenty of accidents that happen right there. My problem with it is it's like some kind of advantage they want, like kind of like cheating. They got a giant parking lot there and then about 100 yards down from where that is at is traffic lights. Instead of going down to the traffic lights, it's like they cheat. What I would like to know, is it possible for you to put some kind of temporary blockage in that area until the next year when they start doing the remodeling or whatever they call of Navarre Avenue?
Thank you. Mr. Roman?
I was going to say, we are planning to put a traffic light in for Kingston Court.
Yeah, but that's not the next year, correct?
Correct. Well, the contract's been awarded. It'll be in the spring that they start that work. It'll probably take a year to construct.
Yeah,
So the Salad Galley has their parking lot there. So explain to me again the concern, though. You're saying when people leave Kingston Court, they're cutting through that parking lot?
No, they're not. It's the one across the street.
Oh, Salad
where
Galley.
Citizens Bank is and everything, that strip mall that runs there. That's where they're going, and they're going in there for whatever reason. It's a giant parking lot with traffic lights to go in and out of it. Why can't they go there instead of try to cheat and get in? Often I pull in to go into Kingston Court.
Okay.
And then somebody comes from the east side.
I see.
coming,
Cut you off. They cut you off.
Route 2 or Navarre Avenue. And they get all mad and start cussing at you because you're in their way.
I see.
So I just want some kind of, something to be done soon.
Temporary,
before I
yeah,
get hurt.
yeah, sooner.
Worse than I already am.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, if your name and number, we can definitely talk about it. I'll talk with Rodney Schultz, he's our traffic engineer, so.
I just got a new phone
Well,
number.
I can get it, and we can call you, we can,
Got all my information.
we'll check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Up next, Amy Mottmiller, please.
Amy Mottmiller, 5040 Corduroy Road. I have a few questions. First question doesn't deal with the data center, surprisingly. Is there any time that we're going to be able to take a look at the comprehensive plan before this vote in November, or this review in November, or anything like that? The community itself, is there a time that we're going to be able to have that opportunity?
Mr. President, I'll try to make it quick for
Yes,
sake
sir.
of time. It's been almost a year that it's been put together, and we've been taking comments. I think the final version was up on the website when we checked it. For whatever reason, that version of it timed out, and we're fixing the glitch. I think it should be up now on the website, so yes, it should be.
Okay.
Should be available. Don't quote me on that. I will check on that first thing in the morning.
Next, has the load study come back yet, or any of the studies? Have we asked for any, in regards to the data center, have we filed for any environmental permits with the EPA or any of those type of things?
Mr. President, we don't file for any environmental permits. That would be up to the developer, if you're talking about the data center, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. The load study is not completed yet. They're still waiting on the results of that.
Okay, what would you say the cost? So I understand this is great income and everything, but what is the cost of the citizens' livability?
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
I mean, I've been to data center sites. I'll reiterate what I had said before when I talked to people walking around. They don't bother anybody. They don't notice them. That's their words to me. So I stopped people on the street even, asked them about them. They said they don't even know what a data center is. What's that? It's those big buildings right over down the road from you. And it's like, oh, I don't even notice them. I mean, these are the things that they say. They're big buildings. That's about it. They're, generally speaking, from what I've seen, they're relatively quiet. They're under the 70 decibel limit. The most that I've heard, and I took a noise meter to it just to check for myself, is it sounds like a fan blowing in the distance.
What happens when they exceed that 70? What's the consequence?
We have a code for that, and they go to court, and they keep going, and
Mr.
we
President?
can fine them per day per violation.
Mr. Walenzak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I proposed a couple weeks back that we look into the penalty phase of our noise ordinance to give it some teeth so that they won't want to exceed that. So that's something that we will address from City Council to make it a larger punishment if they would exceed that, yes.
If possible, it might be a good thing to do a citizen penalty and a industrial penalty, because there's gonna be a difference in it. Because if you fine a citizen $500, they'll feel it. You fine a billion-dollar company, they're not gonna care. Fine me every day $500.
We would want to make it significant, yes.
Okay. That's all I have for today.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, Jonathan Perry, if you would please name and address for the record. You might need to pull the mic up.
Okay, yeah, Jonathan Perry, 4104 Lynn Drive. I also share the concerns of the proposed data center, and we don't even know at this time if this is going to completely transpire because of all the hoops that have to be jumped through here and other places. My concern is that we won't get the data center. There are discussions and active petitions in the Ohio State right now about removing property tax, which is very popular with us, a lot of different states. I will be there on Wednesday, meeting with some people about a few different ideas, but we don't know how that will play out. What we do know is that Oregon needs resources to go forward. I'm reminded of the politician who was talking about what we're going to do next around here, and he says it's going to take money if we're going to make this city crawl, and somebody shouted from the back, "Let it crawl." And then he said, if we're going to make this city go forward, we're going to have to, make it walk, and somebody said, "Make it walk." And then he says, if we're really going to make this city go forward, we're going to have to make this city run. And somebody said, "Let it run." And then he said, we need a data center to make this thing run. And somebody said, "Let it crawl." That's my concern, is everybody saying, you guys go do this, you guys go do this, until you have a solution. And now all of a sudden we're saying, let's put another fast food restaurant on Navarre. Let's get another car wash. You see, I know that what you're trying to do takes resources, and your job is to try to figure out how to sustain and grow those resources wisely, especially if these things are pushed down the pike, if you will, out of fear. The what ifs, the maybe nots, the could be's, then those are usually the hardest mistakes to correct, because fear is a horrible driver. My son Gentry attended Clay High School, and he met this very city council when he put the turbine in, and we were talking about it recently, and he said, "Oh, Dad," he said, "I was 16 or 17 years old, and I went and spoke at city council, and people were getting up and talking about the vibrations in the ground, and it's going to sound like a huge fan blowing through my window all the time." And he said, "Nobody's talking about the turbine anymore." He said, because of the fear factor. Now, I appreciate each one of you and what you're doing for our city, but my hope is that the data center will come in and strengthen our tax base. I hope that somehow we can build Oregon into a healthier, more sustainable future. And we can't let ourselves be driven by fear. As it's already been said, this data center will be built somewhere, here or somewhere. Our electric bills are going to go up, whether it's built here or Michigan or Washington, D.C. I say our electric bills. Our schools are going to ask for more money. So we have to choose whether we're going to be a part of the process of progress, or will we choose to sit and wait for one more day to pass, and as I said earlier, one more fast food restaurant or one more car wash to show up on Navarre and think that's going to fix our city. I'm encouraging us. Let's do what we got to do.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Fran Wilbur, please.
Hello, it's Fran Wilbur, 3226 Northeast Moreland Drive. You all know I'm against the data center. But I wanted to say, Kathy Pollock talked about the data center like we talked about it all the time. We've been going to come into council meetings, and I've only heard it talked about a couple of times. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Had this council been able, and I'm saying been able, because I don't know if data centers telling you to be quiet, but all I know is majority don't want it. We don't want it. It's going to, like I said earlier, I mean, you're going to put a lot of people in dire straits, especially our seniors. So, I don't know. Should we have data center pay everybody's hospital bill, doctor bills from the pollution? We haven't done studies. How about our water? What's going to happen to our perch, our walleye, when the water, it's going to get polluted somehow if it's even the air particles? What are we going to do then? We only have one lake, and we're going to run it out. You all said, or Mr. Mayor said, in order to accept the safety grant, we had to have proof that we could pay for year 4. All right, how are we going to pay for it? You had to know before you could sign it. That's what he said. Nobody knows how we came up with that figure in order. This is why I said we need transparency. And if that means putting someone else in to get it, we got to do something, people. We live here. We pay our taxes. We make your paychecks. Yet I come here, and normally, no one's got a response for me. Come on. Us citizens aren't that stupid. We deserve to know, too. We deserve that. Right now, there is $64 billion worth of data centers, projects. They've been blocked or delayed in the United States because of opposition of residents. And I sure hope that happens here. That would be the best thing. My last thing is the charter. Who can update it? Does the city council? Or are there rules that we haven't been following? Like when we had a gentleman come up almost and attacked Beth, you sat and let it go.
We are not going to go there, thank you. Continue with what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, what I'm talking about is the safety of all of us here, too. We've heard about rampages of people. I don't want it here. I don't want it to happen to me. If I say something wrong, that's all I'm saying is there should be a type of behavior. We are in the municipal building. The guy that had the F sign, he should have been told to leave. Honestly, he should have been told to leave. That is not appropriate. Here, we have flags. No, I don't agree with that. But my reason for the charter was we need to have something in it that holds people, the council people, accountable. When you get comfortable calling citizens and children hoodlums, and that you would never build out in South Shore, I feel you should have to step down. When a mayor gets comfortable talking about his citizens, I'm sorry, you need to go.
Thank you. That's it. Up next,
Mr. President, just address a few things there. I believe Fran was talking about me calling people in North Oregon, North hoodlums. Never happened, but she has a pretty vivid imagination. Says a lot of things. All right, but I responded to what she said.
Mr. Collins, that's enough. Thank you. Mr. Collins, thank you.
I think she said enough.
Omar Smeedy, if you would, please. No, she didn't sign in. Omar Smeedy? Name and address, please, for the record, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. President. Omar Smady, 2949 Camelot. Sorry if I was too close. I just want to say, next year I'll be here 40 years as a resident of Oregon. Born and raised in Toledo. I care a lot about my city. I tell you, I've been coming to these meetings for the past 2 years now. It's unfortunate that I see people don't attend, and there are no secrets. Everything's clear, crystal clear. If you don't attend the meetings, you miss out, you lose. And so I want to address a couple things because I'm disappointed about things. Unfortunately, I'm on social media. I see things that, bad information, and I wish I wasn't on social media. Unfortunately, photography keeps me on it. But I want to go back to couple dates in the past. I want to start out with one of my favorite days last year, March 25th, 2024. That was a really important day in this room. It was packed, jam-packed with union. There was a big project at the time. There was some doubt from some council members. They were unsure. I understood their concerns. It was very valid. However, there was no NDA, as I recall. And then that day, we had a vote on the industrial park. It was to complete the rest of that purchase so that we would have one big chunk for this big project. It passed that day. Steve was against it. Beth abstained. Not sure why. That's irrelevant. Also that day, we had the OEDF. They get $100,000 every year. That passed. Steve was against it, Salander. Everybody else was for it. It was a big day. And so, because of that purchase, that completed the rest of that industrial park. And then I'm going to move on into my favorite day, November 4th, 2024. Everybody here remembers that day very well. I was here, Ryan was here, every single one of you were here. And as I recall, there was a sales agreement for that industrial park, this Cedar Point Industrial Park, I believe you call it. And every one of you said, yes, we want to sell this property for $17.3 million to this Capacity LLC for the intent of developing a data center. It's in the agreement right here, 183-2024. It's very clear, there's no secrets. This was approved by every single one of you here. Everyone said yes. As far as I understand, we are getting a data center. I think all these people are a little late. I remember that day, November 4th, there was hardly anybody here. He was here, this guy's always here. He's a great citizen. It was less than 10 people here. PJ is here, Brenda was here, she was happy. In fact, she said this was the best thing that she could possibly ask for. And she lives right next to that property.
1 minute.
Yep. We go to March 17th, we had an amendment, we had 6 yeas, 0 nays. It was just for them to do a survey on easements and encroachments. That passed. Drake was missing, obviously, but 7 yeas on that amendment. That was obvious, it was for a data center. Then we had March 24th, 2025, another amendment on that data center property. It was just to, actually, it was to purchase property, which I think there was, 4919 Corduroy Road. So, everything's crystal clear. I don't understand where all these people were. I don't ever recall seeing any of these UNO people here. I mean, you know, I don't want to say that I'm for or against the data center. I'm just saying that this information has been out there, and
Thank you, Mr. Smeedy.
you snooze, you lose. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Up next, PJ Camphammer, name and address for the record, please.
PJ Camphammer, 3646 Navarre Avenue.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Omar stole a little of my thunder, though, but I just want to tell the truth here. If there's anything I'm wrong, please interrupt me so there's no more misinformation. Facebook's full of it right now, misinformation. Omar's right. This has been going on for 2 years that I tracked. There's 16 different meetings that this has been talked about or introduced or along the process. Buying properties, purchase agreements, extending purchase agreements. This has been going on for 2 years. I can't find any opposition from council or, I mean, a lot of questions. They have done their due diligence in questioning these things. They also wanted new roads, or repaired roads, full-time fire, probably more police officers. I know Mr. Drake would like to redo the police department. We definitely need to do that. There's a lot of things that need to be done in the city. I don't think everybody understands that all the power in this room is in council. Our charter, you have one mayor, he has no power without his council. Council votes. Council can override them. Matter of fact, Joel Major doesn't get the vote. Mike Safari doesn't get the vote. Paul Roman doesn't get the vote. Council votes for everything. Council's voted all along. And to me, I think they've done the right thing for what, it's not a perfect thing, but they've done the right thing for what the city needs, for what they're trying to do to develop the city and move the city forward. Everything has a cost. Most of you don't know that the Oregon City Schools are broke. I was at the last meeting. They're deficit spending right now. In 3 years, on a third year budget, they're minus $9 million in deficit spending. That means they're gonna ask for levies. I paid about 25 grand, maybe a little more than 25 grand a year property taxes in Oregon. Less than 1,000 goes to the city of Oregon. 68% goes to the schools. The rest is Lucas County. You have to do what you have to do to move forward and do what the citizens need. Clear roads, police showing up, fire showing up, our services. But council controls this room. If council votes no, you don't get it. So this has been going on a long time. There's a lot of disinformation on Facebook, like we're gonna overturn it, or they're not gonna overturn it, people. They invested over $8 million in that property. They have a purchase agreement for over $14 million to sell it for a data center. You're right, Mr. Omar. It's in the agreement. Council approved it unanimously. There's no, somebody asked on Facebook, what happens if it don't go through? Are you gonna refund the money for the houses? They're already sold. They've already been paid. It's a done deal. The zoning got rezoned. Council rezoned it. It's either light industrial or heavy industrial, and that 168 acres is going industrial because they need the revenue. So I know if it doesn't fit your narrative, I understand. If you're not happy, you don't want a data center, I fully understand. But almost all of our property taxes going to the schools, and they're gonna hit you for a home run, or they're gonna eliminate busing, they're gonna eliminate sports, they're gonna eliminate everything they did back in the day when I got elected. We need revenue. I take my hats off to council, even though it's not an easy job, it's tough. They're doing what they need to do so that we still have a way of living here too, the way we're used to. Unlimited trash, all the rec, all the things. This is not flying under, there is no NDA. All the facts will come out before anyone signs it because council will have to approve that. This can't fly under the radar. Environmental studies have to come out. all this stuff is gonna have to come out before you ever vote to accept the money. But half's going to the school. That's gonna save you in property tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caphammer. Ms. Price, please step up to the mic, name and address for the record.
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to sign in. Things were full. Ruth Price, 5255 Seaman Road. I was thinking the other day, and I've done a lot of driving around from Corduroy to Bayshore Road, all the industry that we have over there. But the thing I was concerned about is that Oregon has never updated the roads for the amount of heavy equipment that is brought in. You go down Wynn Road, and that's the major truck route. The other day I was waiting for the light, and there was this enormous big crane, and I assumed it was going over to the refinery. How much can these small roads that we have take? I don't know that any of you, I think before you bring more industries in, you address those problems, the road situation. We can't put the industry before we have this infrastructure here to accommodate it. I feel bad for the people that live on Wynn Road, that they're, I'm sure way back when they built those homes, they never thought it was going to come to this. That was all I had to say.
Thank you. Mr. Collins.
Order of Business 111.06, Introduction of Persons or Delegations wishing to appear before council. Any person desiring to speak before council shall approach council, give his name, address, and speak from the podium. I knew this already. But the problem with that is it violates well-established case law. There's precedent for it. But before I get into that, I want to read a little section here from the cease and desist letter I sent all of you. Every single one of you have got it. It's in your email somewhere. Check it, please. Melissa's got access to it as well. I sent it to council members, mayor, Melissa, and Mr. Mazur. So when we're looking here, just a little bit ago, someone was shut down for speaking about somebody up on the dais. But yet, 2 weeks ago, you allowed 2 people to talk about me in the audience without shutting them down. All right? You allowed someone to speak up in between and interrupt the meeting. The moment I did it, I was shut down. That's called viewpoint discrimination, okay?
Thank you.
So it's frustrating. I mean, it really is frustrating that I didn't think it had to be in Oregon. Every experience I've had doing what I do outside of here, I haven't had any problems in Oregon. Chief Began, Assistant Chief Spangler will tell you the same thing. Wonderful experience with Melissa in the court system. Trent Schroeder at the courts, fantastic. Everyone's been fantastic until I came to this meeting. So before we go any further, Mr. Thompson, 2 weeks ago, said he wanted to follow laws that were from the 1800s. If that was the case, then we would have to allow slavery again, which was abolished in 1865, remove all voting rights for men and women if you're not a property owner, because those were illegal in 1870, 1920, respectively. There is case law allowing my sign, of which I left my big mean sign out my car. I didn't bring it in today. But that sign has got well-established case law in 1971, Columbia, California. Well, the email I sent you guys, I'll just read a few portions of it. The October 13, 2025 City Council meeting, I had planned on speaking on several topics germane to the City Council business, being the data center. Nothing in Ohio Revised Code 121.22 or 121.221, which governs meetings, or any other state statute permits or instructs local municipalities require name and address to speak during public comment. While I was sitting here, I made a public records request for August, September, October's sign-in sheets that have names, addresses, phone numbers. It's public record. You can make victims out of people if someone says something they don't like. Harassment can come in. I'll get to that in a little bit. So, any person desiring to speak before council shall give his name, address, and speak. All right? Well, a problem with that is the Supreme Court held that a person's decision to remain anonymous is an aspect of the freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment, and that anonymity is a shield from the tyranny of the majority. McIntyre v. Ohio Elections Commission. I talked about the previous meeting. A member of the public has a right to criticize the government or speak to it without having to worry about being targeted after a mandate to reveal sensitive information like name or residential address. Even the founders used anonymity to protect their identities to avoid being targeted by government opponents. In today's cancel culture environment, the right to anonymity when conveying criticism or misinformation, criticism or information to a government is even more vital to protect a member of the public from harassment, scrutiny, and targeted attacks. Anonymity, and I quote, "It's a right which has been recognized by the basic rights of every American citizen since the founding of the country." Bates v. City of Little Rock. We also have, the reason for Bates was that identification and fear of reprisal might deter perfectly peaceful discussions of public matters of importance. Tally v. California. Censorship, the decorum standards. So, I'm just getting really irritated right now. Rosenberg case, there's been referenced about 30 times in relevant case law since, I believe it was 1995. I'm not sure about the date on that one. So long as they are reasonable in the light of purpose served by the forum and viewpoint neutral, which the earlier comment talking about something that was stated or happened here about someone here on the dais
1 minute.
is germane to it, and it fits the statutes. It fits the laws that are allowed. It fits precedent. I mean, this Supreme Court case law to go all the way to it. So now, what's the next one? Discrimination. Government may not engage in more invidious kind of content discrimination known as viewpoint discrimination. That's a 2020 ruling. That's one that quoted Rosenberg. To allow these two people to talk about me in a degrading way absolutely is viewpoint discrimination because of the content of my sign that stated "fuck the data center." The council president agreed with the two positions about my sign, which appears to be you allowing them to conduct their behavior in a discriminatory manner against myself. First, I'd like to thank you guys and the police department for not doing anything about my sign. That was the right approach. I didn't get to see Mr. Drake. I wish I could have. Thank him for it. Unfortunately, people don't like it, and that's okay. But to discriminate on someone's opinions or facts that they state here and shut them down while allowing other people to do things because you don't like what the original person said is viewpoint discrimination, and it can be basis for civil action, and I don't want to go that route.
Thank you. Thank you. We will move on with our agenda. The next item on the agenda for passage is item number 168 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and Police Chief Brandon Began. Chief Began.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is to allow us to submit for a grant funding, which will cover body-worn vests for our officers. This grant is through the Ohio Law Enforcement Body Armor Program, which is administered by the Ohio Attorney General's Office with funding from the Bureau of Workmen's Compensation. We will submit up to 20 vests for this year, and the grant funding will cover 75% of that, and there's a local match of 25%. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Counsel. Hearing no questions, I will assign item 168 of 2025 as ordinance 168 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to apply for and to accept a grant from the Ohio Law Enforcement Bulletproof Vest Program.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Counsel.
Mr. President.
Mr. Salander.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 168 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Salander.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallenczak. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Mr. Wallenczak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman? Yay. Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 168 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. Our next item on the agenda for consideration and passage is item number 169 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and Police Chief Brandon Began. Chief Began.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is to allow us to enter into a contract for vehicle maintenance for the year of 2026 for our cruisers and unmarked vehicles for the department. We did put it out for bid. We received 2 bids back. One was from Bauman Ford on Navarre, and the other one was from Toledo Elite Automotive, who have I believe, moved their business to 4041 Navarre Avenue. And after going over the bids, the Toledo Automotive Elite LLC bid was the best bid that we received for that. Stated in the bid is the priority to have our vehicles serviced quickly, so that way we're, with as many vehicles as we take over there, not to have them off the road for a long period of time, and they will be able to abide by that stipulation in there.
Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions for the chief? Hearing none, I will assign item 169 of 2025 as ordinance 169 of 2025, and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and chief of police to issue purchase orders to Toledo Elite Automotive LLC, 4041 Navarre Avenue, Oregon, Ohio, to provide fleet maintenance services for the police division for a one-year period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026, with an optional second year through December 31st, 2027.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Salander.
I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 169 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Salander.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Wallensack?
Abstain.
Thank you. Ordinance 169 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 4 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. The next item on the agenda for consideration and passage is item number 170 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and Finance Director Nick Roman. Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the annual ordinance to authorize us to issue purchase orders to Lucas County 911 Regional Council of Governments for providing 911 support services. There was a reduction in the annual payment of about $5,600. The overall budget for the COG did go up about 2 2/3%, but due to police chief and fire chief, police and fire departments working on reducing those calls based on how they change around the things, our number of calls did decrease, the 4-year average of about 1,600 or 5.6%. So that's why we have the reduction in the cost for the next year. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any additional questions? Hearing none, I will assign item 170 of 2025 as ordinance 170 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to issue purchase orders to Lucas County 911 Regional Council of Governments, 2144 Monroe Street, Toledo, Ohio, for providing 911 support services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Salander.
I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 170 of 2025 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Salander.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallensack. Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 170 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. Our next item on the agenda for consideration and passage is item number 171 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and our Law Director, Melissa Popora. Ms. Popora.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to enter into an agreement with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that provides criminal justice information through the Northwest Ohio Regional Information System, as well as the Criminal Records Management application with the addition of imaging that supports the Oregon Municipal Court's records management. This is vital to the operations of the Oregon Municipal Court. This is an annual agreement in the amount of $48,488.49. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mrs. Popora. Council, any additional questions? Hearing none, I will assign item 171 of 2025 as ordinance 171 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an agreement with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC 1 Government Center, Suite 1720, Toledo, Ohio, to provide criminal justice information service through the Northwest Ohio Information System, NORIS, and records management support for the Oregon Municipal Court for the period of January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President,
Mr. Salander.
Thanks, sir. I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 171 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Salander.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallenczak. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Salander?
Yay.
Mr. Wallenczak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 171 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. Our next item up on the agenda for passage is item number 172 of 2025, being presented by Mayor Safarian and Public Service Director Paul Roman. Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is needed to renew the GIS system, that's the Geographical Information System software license for the engineering department. The system does contain all the city's infrastructure data, including water lines, sewers, storm, and roads, and it is used by the engineering department for in-house design, as well as maintenance or emergencies, and just simply looking up information for residents. This is a 3-year contract renewal. It was included in the 2025 CIP budget. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Roman, do you want to just tackle the other two at this time? And
I can?
yes, please.
Okay. I have to have a
It's
couple,
item
but, yeah.
173, correct? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, so the next ordinance, 173, is for ordering more electronic remote transmitters, or ERTs, for the water department. We did just purchase some in August. We did hold off on a portion of them. We were concerned that there will be a software upgrade for Itron. This is our water metering software. We'll have to make an upgrade by 2028. We just wanted to make sure that if we ordered more of these ERTs, it would work with that software. And we want to make sure that our current system, our meter readers drive by, they collect readings. Again, we just want to make sure that it would work. And then we did meet with the sales rep for Itron. These will work. The 500W, 500 water ERTs are also used for what's called the low-profile meters. And because you can use them, then you don't have to switch out the meter and register, which also saves us money. So that's what it's for. Anyways, the exhibit explains the costs, and Mary Wolf had her memo explaining the purchase as well. If I can, just go to 174 as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so item 174 is needed to grant an easement to Toledo Edison to install a electric service line and transformer for the street department garage, which is being constructed out back. The easement description is included in Exhibit A. And that's just for $1, but they won't do the work unless you grant the easement. And then my last ordinance here, item 175, is really just needed to accept a temporary and permanent easement from the City of Toledo for our Corduroy Road Bridge Replacement Project. This easement description is included in Exhibit A. There's also a map. If you think about the Corduroy Road Bridge, it's between Yarrow and Torch Drive, but the City of Toledo water plant is on the north side. City is responsible for road maintenance as well as the bridge, but recognizing that they need the bridge for the water plant, they did donate these easements. So, this project, we did receive a grant that'll pay 95% of the project cost, up to $817,000. And the design has already been covered through ODOT. So we're very glad and very happy that they were willing to donate these easements. So that's it for mine.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, on item 172 of 2025, are there any additional questions on that item for Mr. Roman? Hearing none, I will assign item 172 of 2025 as ordinance 172 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and director of public service to issue purchase orders to Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated, ESRI 380 New York Street, Redlands, California, for the purchase of ArcGIS annual fee small government term enterprise 3-year license agreement to be used by the Department of Public Service in a total amount not to exceed $90,600 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. I don't know how you read it that fast, but at any rate. Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallenczak?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 172 of 2025 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenczak.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Thank you. Ordinance 172 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. The next item that we talked about, council, are there any additional questions on item 173 of 2025? Hearing none, I will assign item 173 of 2025 as ordinance 173 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor, director of public service, and the finance director to issue purchase orders to United Systems and Software Incorporated, P.O. Box 54791 Southwest 1 Boulevard, Benton, Kentucky, for the purchase of electronic remote transmitters, ERTs, for the City of Oregon Water Distribution Division and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President.
is that Mr. Salander?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Salander.
I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 173 of 2025 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Salander.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallensack. Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 173 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. Our next item on the agenda that we talked about was item 174. Council, any additional questions? Concerns? No, not hearing none. I will assign item 174 of 2025 as ordinance 174 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor to execute an easement with the Toledo Edison Company and Ohio Corporation, 341 White Pond Drive, Akron, Ohio, for the purpose of installing and maintaining electrical service to the new street garage facility at 5330 Seaman Road, Oregon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 174 of 2025 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Ms. Snyder, would you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Thank you. Ordinance 174, 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas, 0 nays. And our last item, any additional questions for item 175 of 2025? Hearing none, I will assign item 175 of 2025 as ordinance 175 of 2025 and ask Ms. Snyder to please read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and director of public service to accept and execute a temporary easement and permanent easement for the LUC Corduroy Road Bridge PID 119725 project from the City of Toledo, One Government Center, Toledo, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 175 of 2025 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack.
Second.
Second by Mr. Horniak. Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yay.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yay.
Thank you. Ordinance 175 of 2025 does pass with a vote of 5 yeas to 0 nays. Having considered all the items on the agenda for this evening, we will now move on to the mayor's report.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Major.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Mrs. Pepora.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Pepora. Mr. Roman.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Horniak.
No report from my standing committee, Mr. President, but due to a professional commitment, I will not be here next week, and I do want to extend best wishes and good luck to everybody who's running next week and on the ballot. And with that, I'd end my report.
Thank you, Mr. Horniak. Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Mrs. Ackerman.
Mr. President, that was my first question. Are we going to have a committee of the whole, Mr. President?
Can you pull your mic?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Oh, are we going to have a committee of the whole next week? Too soon to say?
I would probably guess not if we don't have anything, but with people going out and putting signs up and where at the polling places, I would assume not.
Okay.
just so people can, yeah.
Right.
With my committee, I attended with Keith Henninger and a couple of his workers, the Urban Forestry Conference in Bluffton, Ohio, and that was very interesting. It was a day-long, I got to be a college student for a day and listen to one speaker after another talk about invasive species and good invasive species and deer management with trees and sidewalks and trees. And I have several tree care books that were given to us from the Ohio Forestry Division, and I will be leaving those out in the walkway in the foyer in the municipal building, or I'll put them on. If people want them, get a hold of me and I'll get you one. They were very generous with them this year. We have, council has agreed to, in lieu of flowers, plant a tree in memory of Mayor Brown. And the family's determining the where and the variety. We do have a problem, and I hope that we can have I don't know if the tree commission's gonna address it, or we're gonna do it with the public service people, but we have a problem with people just tree trimming areas that they don't have consent to be trimming, or they're trimming them improperly. So I'm hoping that we can address that. People seem to have problems with where property lines fall and what belongs to them, what they're allowed to trim. Someone asked the question about the master plan, so that is not yet online that I saw. So it's going to be anytime now, but it's not yet.
Mr. President, if I may. I did check with Steve Schrake did get back with me. He said it'll be up on Wednesday.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. And was there one more thing? Oh, and Mr. Mazur, would you please tell us about the America 250 meeting tomorrow? Update us on that.
Mr. President, Ms. Ackerman. So same as before, just, reconvening about what we talked about last time. And, trying to put together some ideas and, schedule some events. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we should have somebody from the Oregon Jerusalem Historical Society there. I know that they have some separate events planned for next year, so hoping to hear more about that, and hopefully we don't conflict with this committee and what they have going on as well.
And we're still open to people joining us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just in case.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yes,
Gotcha,
please.
Gotcha,
yes.
gotcha, yep, gotcha.
So,
Absolutely.
I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Ms.
good evening.
Ackerman. Mr. Salander.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing from my standing committee, just a couple quick points. One is, it was nice to see with Mayor March Brown's procession around the city. It was nice to see with the fire department out there. I was out here at the municipal building, so it was with the trucks out there and everything, and it was a moving time. So thank you for doing that also, and thank you to Mayor March Brown. The other thing is, this weekend, the last 2 weekends, the Oregon Community Theater were putting on Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was able to see it this past Saturday, and if you got to see it, you got quite a treat. It was seriously amazing. I mean, I knew and I know that we have a lot of talent here in this city, but wow, holy cow. So shout out to the cast and crew of that. Great job, well done. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salander, and I have nothing from my standing committee. So with that, if there's no further business for council, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
And second.
Mr. Horniak. Second
Second.
by Mr. Salander.